Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of We Watched a Movie. Very extra super special episode for us today. We watched The Last Jedi.
Woo!
And this is the film you're looking for if you're looking for a new Star Wars movie. And we are going to talk about that right now. First, we're going to say this because we don't usually make it a point of actually saying, but seriously, y'all, this is huge and there's a lot. We cannot talk about this movie without giving things away.
No, you can't. You just can't.
We're giving y'all the spoiler warning right now. It's above our heads right now, but also just spoiler, okay? So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now we're going to begin. Brandon, I'll go ahead and let you take it away since you've got a lot to say to start us out.
Okay, yeah. I came into this movie really, really psyched, really, really hyped. I love Disney. I love what they've been doing with all the properties they've been buying up. I'm a super believer in them. This movie, man, I want to love it. I want to love it so bad. It was painful. There are things about it I just didn't love. Like, once again, going back to spoilers, there were moments where I thought this movie should have ended. They shoot a starship through Snoke's vessel, and it's amazing. And I was like, that's the end of the movie. Nope. War on a frozen planet. You're like, okay, this is Hoth. They're gonna, have Luke show up, and, he dies, a totally unremarkable death, in my opinion. And I was so disappointed with the way they dealt with that. I mean, there's lots of things I love about this movie. Don't get me wrong. As artists, they made an incredible film, but there are total, I just think, errors in the way they made this movie. What was your opinion of it?
I might be the entire polar opposite of you on this movie. This may be my new favorite Star Wars movie. Seriously, this movie was so... I had a religious experience watching this film. I'm not saying to say that there weren't things that I was kind of disappointed by. I'm going to go ahead and say that right out. As much as I am going to blow this movie up, and I am, I'm also there's going to be a few things here and there where I am going to go into some of my disappointments. One, Snoke. Not really that bad of a bad guy. I mean, who gives a crap? In the end, who was this guy? We don't really know, don't really care, doesn't really matter, because about halfway through, well, he's in half.
Yeah, so, that's awesome. That was one of my favorite moments of this movie.
Yeah, but to me, that was one of the drawbacks, because I'm I've been building this dude, this mysterious figure who we've only seen in a hologram, who was 30 foot tall, and we're who is this mysterious dark new villain from who knows where, and what's his connection, and is he Darth, Plagueis, or is he Darth, Bane, and, has he been around for thousands of years, and who is, it doesn't really matter, he's just some schmo, and we're going to cut him in half now. And that's literally how it felt like they just treated him in this movie.
I think that moment, let's talk about that, because that happens. Mm-hmm. Kylo Ren cuts Snoke in half, straight up with Rey's lightsaber.
Yeah, with
Rey tries to
and
Rey tries to show up with the lightsaber and be, I'm a Jedi, I'm gonna turn.
I'm gonna Luke at skies at Cloud City.
And Kylo Ren is I'm used to killing masters.
Right.
And he just turns the lightsaber, turns it on, and cuts Snoke in half.
Yeah.
And that's all that there is to it. I thought that was awesome.
Prescience, I did think it was cool that he used Snoke's prescience to his advantage. That Snoke is going, he's turning it on, and he's turning it on his true enemy, and blah, so he's thinking, oh yeah, no, dude, little girl, you're about to get cut in half, and Kylo's bitch, I just tricked you with your own foresight, and just cut you in half with it. I mean, that was truly pretty awesome.
And I like that there's this thing going on where both, there's this thing where Kylo Ren and Rey have this connection that Snoke helped build, right?
Yeah.
And they learn stuff from one another, and they both make these Force predictions about the future, and they are both right.
Yeah.
They are both correct.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Well, and showing that foresight is certainly it's not everything you think. That was one thing.
It's in the moment. It's true in the moment, but that doesn't mean that this moment is gonna extend and be seen the same way into the future.
Exactly. And they got real deep into that idea of foresight and how it would work and how prescience would work. And I don't think I've known of a work of fiction, except for maybe the novels that make up the Dune series, really going that in depth about the idea of prescience and foresight and how all of that would work. And I love that they did that they turned it on its head and they go, well, it doesn't exactly work the way you think it is. You're given vague ideas about possible events, so that they are general enough to where, as you said, each outcome is true. It's all about your certain point of view, as Ben Kenobi would have said.
Right, and I think they do a really good job. One of the things I love about this is they do end the Jedi. The Jedi are more or less gone,
pretty much.
And Luke has divorced himself from it before the movie ever begins. He's like, that is a bad idea. It is an archaic way of thinking. It is inherently flawed. And they demonstrate that really well through storytelling, which is cool. Like, and I thought some of the best moments were in that battle with Snoke, where Rey and Kylo Ren find themselves like allied in this moment where they're going to destroy him and defeat those red guys who finally did something. Finally did something. Like all these years of watching the Emperor's elite guards
actually do something.
And they were pretty good. Good. I wasn't disappointed. And I thought that fight scene really lived up. And I was like, this is awesome. This is where the movie's ending with Kylo Ren and Rey. And it just
kept going
on. There's like another hour after that. It's like huge things, like the ship I was talking about that shoots through his thing. Hasn't even done that yet. Hasn't even done that yet.
Was still to come.
And I thought that was a great ending point. There were a bunch of moments I thought were great ending points, but this movie just pushes past the great things it has going on into like, we want to wrap up the original trilogy. We want to bring an end to the things we had.
I guess to some degree, they kind of do that. I liked Luke's death, honestly. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it as it's happening, because I know it's coming. I know that he's not coming out of this alive. No matter what happens, he is not going to live through this final confrontation. And you can just see it in Mark Hamill's performance and the look that he puts on Luke's face as he's doing this and as he's grasping his sister's hand and saying goodbye to her. And, all of this stuff is going on. You just know. You're like, he's not going to make it out of this. And yet, I liked the way they did it. I liked the fact that he gave himself to the Force, that he sacrificed
fine,
his own
metaphysical
physical body.
That's fine, metaphysical
in order to do that.
Mumbo jumbo, and there's a lot of metaphysical mumbo jumbo in Star Wars.
Certainly.
I came to this movie to watch Luke Skywalker swing a lightsaber,
and he
did. At no point he does.
And he did.
No,
he did.
He Force manifests himself on the original planet. Like he shows up at the end of the movie.
He took a swipe at Kylo in that
exchange. He does. But he's not actually wielding a lightsaber. He's not really there.
That's
all still imaginary. That's just like a Force projection.
Doesn't matter because you're still getting to see it.
If it's not real, it doesn't matter. But that's like watching a hologram of Snoke.
You don't exist
if like a hologram swinging it at someone and he CGI'd it, it's not real.
But you don't exist in that story. You still got to see Luke Skywalker fight in a lightsaber battle.
Okay, yes, you get to see him, and he does a lot of dodging.
And that was cool, dude.
Because he has to, because he's not
swung at him,
real.
And he did that Matrixy duck thing.
Right, but he can do that because he's not actually there.
Yeah, but that was
his body can do that. His knees can do that because it's just a projection of himself. Mm-hmm. But then that detracts from it for me because he dies right afterwards. The energy it took to project himself to that place and to talk to the people he talks to. Like he talks to Leia. He goes out and there's this awesome moment where he walks out in front of all these AT-ATs and they just lay waste to where he's standing. Kylo Ren's just hit him with every laser we have. And it's one of the coolest moments in the whole movie. Yeah. Where just all his AT-ATs are just laying down on Luke. And they're on this cool planet that's covered in ice, but the ground underneath it is red with iron and salt.
Yeah.
So every blast blows up this red smoke and they just blow up this area. And then Luke just walks out of the thing and you're like,
Then dusts his shoulders
Yeah, he dusts his
off.
shoulder.
That
Yeah,
was
he does
great.
a shoulder
That
dust
was
off.
great. He-
But yeah, so he's getting wasted by all these AT-ATs, and you're like, this is amazing. And he walks out of the cloud, and he brushes his shoulder off, and you're like, Luke is so awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if he like force dodged out and then dodged back in.
Right.
But then like he fights Kylo Ren, and he does his dodginess, and it turns out he was never even there.
Yeah.
He was never even there. And then he has this moment with Kylo Ren where he sacrifices himself like Ben Kenobi, where Kylo gives him like some monologue about how he's defeated the rebellion and he's gonna kill
Right,
you.
he's also-
And he's just like, everything you said is wrong, which is like the hottest.
so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Mark Hamill's amazing. As much as I kind of rag on it, some of these performances are amazing. Mark Hamill's is among them.
Yeah.
And then Kylo runs through him and slices him in half, but he's like, oh, you're not even there. And he like kind of pokes his lightsaber through him. He's like, you're not even there. And then it goes to like Luke sitting on a rock, like projecting himself. And then he just like
using
disappear.
that force that was on the planet that was obviously some sort of force fountain or force well, much like the cave in Dagobah,
Right,
or any number of other spots that they've talked about throughout Legends material as well as the new canon. And there's these places where the force just collects, and obviously that's one of them. It was obviously one of the very first,
because we've never seen any other Jedi do that.
Right. And he used that in order to do that, and he pushed it so far in order to have those actual physical interactions, and he depleted his own body because he was.
But then he might as well have been cut down by like Kylo Ren.
No,
like
fair
it would have
enough.
been like the same thing. It would have been the same end result. He just would have been there, and it would have been a real sacrifice as opposed to him like crawling up on a rock. Because the net result was the same.
Yeah,
he's gone. He's just dead. And they could have done the Vader, just you disappear into your cloak. Instead, they were like, no. And it's cool.
Yeah, but think about how much more painful that would have to be for him to have to fight his nephew. Because the first time they didn't really fight. The first time was Luke going, because obviously, again, spoilers, we find out exactly what the hell happened between he and Kylo Ren, and he thought, crap, I need to kill this kid. He's dark. He's got too much of his granddad in him. He's too much like Dad. I gotta kill him. And then he has that moment of doubt of, I shouldn't. This is my nephew, for God's sakes.
And I love that moment. And I think it makes sense from both sides.
But then
when
Kylo wakes up and
you hear the
sees him
story
and,
from both sides. And you hear from Kylo's, and he wakes up, and Luke is about to kill him.
Luke is just about to kill him. That's all he knows.
Right, and that's all he knows. And it's totally fair and legitimate. And then you hear it from Luke's, where he has like a second of doubt where he summons his saber, but that's all it takes to wake up Kylo Ren. Because he's a Force adept. So he's like, I sense danger, and he wakes up and draws his saber, and then that's it. That's it. It took 1 minute between those two.
Yeah, and Luke knows that he screwed it up, and I get that, and that's one of the things that I love about Luke in this movie is that, Luke at the end of his life, I like this. I like this Luke at the end of his life because it's him going, I made mistakes. I was human. I failed. But and my hubris got the better of me towards the end, and yet, there's still hope. We just have to alter the way that we've been doing things because the old way didn't work. It was too concrete, too solid, too rigid.
And he talks about the hubris of the Jedi and like how they're
he references the Clone Wars. He talks about the everything that happened in the prequels.
Right,
he
which
basically
they kind of always did.
Granted, but he basically is just like, look, they made their own bed, of death, and he's right. When you look at the prequels, that's exactly the story they were telling in the prequels, is this order that's become so old and so ancient and so sure of its own righteousness that no other way of thinking can be right.
And I think they earn their title because they do end that. Mm-hmm. They have a great scene between Frank Oz's Yoda as a Force Ghost and Luke, and I think it was my favorite moment in this movie. Yeah. I think the Yoda was an actual puppet. He might be CGI. I don't.
Think about how powerful Yoda is, too. Think about how powerful in the Force Yoda is and always will be now because he was able to physically interact with Luke as a Force ghost.
Yeah, he summoned.
Holy cow!
And he ends the Jedi as like if anyone has the right and privilege to burn the sacred tree that like all their texts are in.
Right, because Luke couldn't do it. Luke got up to the tree and he's like, I'm going to burn all this. I'm going to burn this tree. I'm going to burn the sacred text. I'm going to burn the touchstone foundation area of the Jedi Order. I'm going to burn it to the ground and destroy it because it's wrong.
And he pauses.
And he pauses. He cannot do it. And Yoda's like, dude,
I
was trying to tell you this back on Dagobah. Because you can kind of see that in Yoda's expression. He's just like, this is exactly what I was trying to get you to understand years ago, kid. You know, he's like, and you didn't get it until now. You know, that way, that rigid old way that we did things. Because even Yoda was trying to change the way of training in Empire and in
he's trying to train
and he's
Luke a little differently.
Right,
he sees where he screwed up,
and
like he's
where
trying
the
to
order
move it on.
Up. Yeah,
and I don't know. Do you think that was CGI or do you think that was a puppet?
No, I think that was I could see it being a combo of the two. Honestly,
it's possible.
It's very possible.
I thought it looked like a puppet, which I don't know if they were CGI guys who made that look like the puppet version of Yoda. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You did such a good job.
Yeah.
I was looking at hair
it does look very
moving
old,
and like the way his face
version,
stuff, and it looked so good.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I'll give this movie. It looks like classic Star Wars in every moment, every costume, every piece of technology, every starship. It has that grit.
Right.
As
that
much as like
feel.
I don't like losing Luke the way I did.
Yeah.
I didn't like some of the stuff they did with Leia. Like Leia kind of saves herself using the Force, and you're
a Force user.
Yeah,
and
but
she's
I mean,
also
like,
as powerful.
Sure.
I mean, she's a Skywalker.
Okay, so like they did some stuff. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. It had too many endings. There were some great moments in this, and I thought every moment of it looked and felt like a Star Wars movie. I didn't love every moment of it, but it's not your job as a filmmaker to please me every second.
No doubt.
And as a super nerd who wanted to love every second of this, I was a little like, oh, that's not how I want my stuff to end. But not giving it to me in that way is kind of satisfying too.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, again, I loved it. That's all I could say. Is I had a fantastic time, and I will go see it again.
Oh yeah, gonna see it like 20 more times.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes, Star Wars. It was awesome. Lightsabers.
Well, that's been another episode of We Watched a Movie for Last Jedi. We do thank y'all for coming and checking us out, and we'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of Badger Nerdworks Presents We Watched a Movie. I'm Bran. This is Finn. Be sure you like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for coming and hanging out.